Good evening, and thank you for joining us on the National Education Union's phone briefing on the coronavirus. We know that this is a very worrying time for all of you and that things are moving really quickly. So we've set up the call tonight to brief you on where things stand. And we also want to hear from you, so if you do have any questions, there'll be an opportunity for you to do so. If you do have a question, what you need to do is press 0 on your keypad and you'll be put through to one of our operators. To start things off, I'm pleased to say that sitting alongside me, we've got Dr. Mary Bousted, Joint General Secretary of the NEU. So without any further ado, I'll hand over to Mary.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you very much for joining the National Education Union member town hall on the coronavirus. There's no doubt that this virus is the biggest challenge, the biggest crisis that I have seen in my lifetime. It's a global pandemic. And the National Education Union has been at the forefront of informing members about the issues, and in particular what the virus means for their personal and their professional lives. We've written two letters to the Prime Minister calling for school staff who are at risk not going to work in their schools and colleges, nor for those staff who have family members who suffer from conditions which put them at high risk to go into their schools. We're updating our website every day to inform members, responding when the situation changes. Kevin and I followed up our two letters to the Prime Minister with a film yesterday which has been seen by over 100,000 people, and we continue to work to inform our members and clearly give them their rights and their responsibilities to help and protect them during this crisis. Now, this afternoon at 5 o'clock, the Secretary of State for Education, Gavin Williamson, made an announcement in the House of Commons, and I'm going to highlight the key points of the announcement he made this afternoon. Firstly, I think it's important to note that Gavin Williamson expressed his gratitude for school staff and for the work that they have been doing as this crisis has developed. He said that after schools close their gates on Friday, this Friday, they will remain closed until further notice. This will be for all children, except those children and young people who are the children of key workers or children who are vulnerable. So this means for key workers, that's been defined as the children of NHS staff, police and food delivery drivers. And for vulnerable children, it's those who have social workers or those who have educational and healthcare plans. Schools will also be, early years providers and sixth form colleges will also be closed to most students and to most children. Schools will be given the flexibility to provide meals or vouchers to children and young people who are eligible for free school meals, and schools already doing this will have their costs reimbursed. As soon as possible, the government will put in place a national voucher system. Ofsted inspections will cease for the duration, and most importantly, and something I think which will really interest those of you calling tonight, Gavin Williamson has confirmed that the government will not go ahead with assessments or exams, and there will be no performance league tables. So that means there will be no SATs, no GCSEs, no AS levels, and no A levels. Gavin Williamson has said that he will work with education professionals and with Ofsted and Ofqual to ensure children get the qualifications they need. Now, we talked, Gavin and I, to Nick Gibb, the Schools Minister, and what this means, in essence, is that GCSE, AS and A-level grades will be calculated by teacher assessment, done by a mixture of rank ordering, by previous pattern of grades in the school and by teacher assessment. And the Schools Minister, Nick Gibb, has said that this is a perfectly reasonable, valid and reliable system of assessment. Independent schools will be required to take part in the programme. Schools will remain open, says the Secretary of State, during the Easter holidays for these vulnerable children and for the children of key workers. And Wales and Scotland are largely following the same path. Schools closed, but open for vulnerable children and key workers. So there's a great deal that the National Education Union is going to have to work out. In really broad terms, we are now going to have to produce guidance for members about what are their obligations, for example, for teaching children who aren't at school. What do they have to do? When do they have to do it? that raises issues of what is reasonable. What are our members' obligations for the very limited opening of schools for key workers and for vulnerable students? Where will they be required? What will they be doing? Will this be voluntary? How will their safety be assured? And then what will happen when schools reopen, including more guidance about what will happen if members get sick or self-isolate after schools close, and what are the issues around with their pay and with their sick pay. So we know that now we have this further guidance for the Secretary of State, there's a lot more for us to do, and we will be doing that. But I'll finish now, and I'm happy to take your calls.
Thank you very much, Mary. And as Mary said, we do have lots of detailed advice and guidance on the NEU website. This is being updated all of the time, but I'll give you the web address. It's neu.org.uk/coronavirus. We've had lots of questions in already. We've had questions about vulnerable children, the status for children with EHCPs, and also members with care and responsibilities for the over 70s. Mary, I don't know if you want to talk about any of that, or perhaps, we'll put the first question through.
My question is, what constitutes key workers and vulnerable children?
Okay, and what's your name?
My name's Cheryl.
Hello, Cheryl. Lovely. Thank you for asking that question. So at the moment, we are being told that key workers are the children of NHS staff, of police personnel, and of food delivery drivers. And vulnerable children are those who have a social worker attached to them, or those with educational healthcare plans. So those are the two key categories, and that's the definition we have at the moment. We probably expect the government will provide more detail on those two categories in the near future.
Okay, that's lovely. Thank you very much.
Thank you. We'll take the next question now, please. I should say we've had unprecedented demand for this call. We've had over 1,000 people sign up to it. So if we don't have an opportunity tonight to hear from your question, the best way to get in touch with us is to send us a private message on Twitter or Facebook, and we'll answer as quickly as we can. But as I say, we do have lots of advice and guidance on the website that's been updated all the time. We'll take the next call now.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello. My question is about the definition of people who care for over 70s. Does that have to be like someone who is like a registered carer, or could it be someone who has parents over 70 who they visit every day?
So we don't have any detail about that, but our view is, the national education view is, somebody who cares for somebody who's over 70 is somebody who provides caring for people who are over 70, and we know that those people are in a vulnerable and high-risk group. So we have said consistently in our guidance that you don't have to, we've not mentioned registered carers. We say that people who are over 70, or people who live with or provide care for people over 70, if you do that and if you provide care, then that's who we say are in that category.
Okay, so would it count if, say, you lived in the same town as your parents and you went to see them every day because they were in their 80s and they weren't very well? Would that count as a carer?
We would say that would count, yes.
Yeah, okay, that's lovely. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.
Thank you. Our next question, please. I think it's from a member working in an academy, and it's a question about consultation.
Hello? Hello?
Hello?
Hello? Hello, hi. It's Mary here. What's your question?
That wasn't my question. My question is, I'm a teacher in a special needs school, and obviously all the children have an EHCP. So I wondered if you had any idea how that works for us, bearing in mind many of us have children that are now going to require some sort of educating at home as well.
Yes, and this is an issue we're going to raise with the government immediately. It's become quite clear that the government just thought about children with EHCPs within a mainstream setting, and if you're teaching in a special school, they'll all have EHCPs.
Exactly.
So one of the key things we're going to be doing tonight or first thing tomorrow morning is raising that issue with the government. What does that actually mean for those schools, particularly remaining open during the Easter holidays, and what does it mean for the teachers who most teachers teaching in those schools will have children as well. So what does that mean for them? We don't think that this has really been quite thought through, and it's certainly an issue that we're going to be raising as a matter of urgency. I'm sorry I can't give you an answer about that now, but it's a really important question.
No, thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you. Can we have our next question, please?
Good evening, Mary. It's Paul Busby, North Yorkshire Secretary. I wonder if you could advise us or give a lead on whether or not we can look forward to all suspension, to have the consultation process suspended, particularly in terms of redundancies, academy conversions.
Well, it is certainly the National Education Union's view that if you can't attend the school, if the school is closed for all normal purposes, then it's difficult for there to be any sense that this would be meaningful consultation at this time. This is a national emergency. Schools are closed. They're opening on an extraordinary basis. Many of the members will not be present and available for consultation. So our view is that meaningful consultation cannot take place during this period, and we will be taking a very dim view of any school, whether they are academy or free school or state school, which tries to claim that meaningful consultation can take place during this period.
Thank you, Mary.
Thank you. Our next caller, please, who I think is a member working in a pupil referral unit, who's got a question about underlying health conditions.
Here, Oxfordshire NEU Joint Secretary. A couple of questions really. Obviously working in the PRU, it's a little bit unclear now as to whether I'm expected to go into work or not. I'm currently not in work as I've got an underlying health condition of asthma and recurring bronchitis. So I'm a bit concerned as to whether I'm going to be expected to go in or whether I'm still allowed to stay at home. I also have concerns which other people have raised about obviously parents that have got children. One of the points that I'd quite like to make, wouldn't it be far more sensible for us just to declare that the Easter holidays start this Friday for 2 weeks? It then gives you guys, who are doing an excellent job already, time to sort out Boris, and then obviously we can formulate a downside better plan in 2 weeks' time when we've all got a little bit more of a sense of which way we're going with all of this.
Well, that is actually, so two things. The most important thing is if you've got an underlying health condition, asthma with bronchitis, you should not be going into school. We see no reason to change that advice. The government advice is if you're a member of a high-risk group, you should self-isolate, and that's what you should do. And
absolutely,
so this makes no difference to that. Secondly, about what would have been better, we really honestly expected that schools would close a week earlier for the Easter, before the Easter holidays, and a week after. I suppose one of the government's key concerns is that they need to have key workers available for work during this crisis, and that has affected their thinking. So we can't really respond to what government should do. We have to just respond to what they have done. But with your underlying condition, you should not be going into schools.
Thank you, Mary. Could we have the next caller, please? I think it's from Louise, who's got a question about care and responsibilities.
Hello?
Hello?
Hello? Who am I speaking to?
Hello? Hello, Lucy.
Hello, what's your name?
Hello, Lucy.
Hi, Lucy. What's your question?
Hello. My question is, I am pregnant, so I've been advised not to go in school and self-isolate for the next 12 weeks, and I'm just wondering what I've been told that I won't be paid for this coming week. and I'm just wondering where I stand with that and if I should be having full pay.
So where do you work, and do you have a permanent contract?
Yes, I have a permanent contract.
Well, then you should be paid, and you should contact, well, first of all, you need to, have you got a rep in the school? So are you a teacher,
Yes,
or are you a
we
member of school staff? Teacher?
Teacher.
Yes,
Yes.
well then contact the rep in your school. There is no reason why you should not be paid.
Okay.
So that's good news.
Okay,
That's good
thank
news. You should be paid. You must be paid. Okay, next question.
Oh, hello, Mary. Tom here from Norfolk.
Hello, Tom.
Hello, Mary. Yeah, hello. Just a quick background before my question. Last week in my school, there were cases of staff isolating, which was not made public knowledge. This week, I can see that the sickness has been going up double in each day. I was in a constant battle saying to close the school by using the Health and Safety Act 1974 and implying that the governors have overall responsibility when it comes to law. My question is, my couple of questions is what are we going to have for return, meaning what kind of risk assessment should we now be looking at for the return of work when there is a time when we do have to go back to work, and what we're going to ask for and what guidance will they be given, etc., for that. So I think it needs to be quite robust, and we use the Health and Safety at Work Act 1974.
Yep, I mean, absolutely, that will be a key issue for our communications and negotiations, and we're going to issue advice about that, and we're going to be asking the DfE. I mean, one of the things that we'll be looking for is what's the criteria for the reopening of schools, and there'll all sorts of things then follow on from that. Obviously, we're going to be saying that staff who've had to not attend school or attend school on a different basis will not be making up time. You know, when will trainee teachers get their qualified teacher status? What's going to happen about pay progression? And so there are lots of issues which we have to deal with and we have to negotiate with government. But certainly we want robust evidence that the virus has passed its peak and that schools are safe places for both school staff and children to return to.
Yeah, I think that's key what you just said there. That last bit is absolutely crystal clear.
Yes.
Well done. Yeah. Thanks very much.
Thanks, Tom.
And don't forget, if you do have a question, press 0 on your keypad and you'll get put through to one of our operators. But we'll take the next question now, please.
Hello, Mary. My name's Kieran O'Sullivan. I'm ringing from Hove, or speaking from Hove.
Hello?
Hello.
What's your question?
My question is, I've got a full-time contract at school, but I know plenty of people who are supply teachers. I've got a good friend of mine, she does long-term supply, and there seems to be absolutely no provision via the agencies or via the schools, which depend on short-term and long-term supply, for these key workers. I was wondering what the union's going to do about that.
So that's a really key question, and what we're going to do is we're writing to the government to demand that supply teachers should be paid. They are, you know, this is a bigger issue in our society that so many workers don't have permanent contracts. They've got 0 hours contracts, and they're, you know, it's terrifying for them because they don't know where they are going to be able to pay their rent or pay their mortgage or get a decent wage. So we're writing to the government to demand that supply teachers should be paid. In the meantime, the National Education Union has a trust fund which is there and has been established for those members who are in financial difficulties. So that is then and branches are being asked to contribute to the trust fund, and so that is there. You can find details for that on the website. It's also important that the government has put in place for banks to and building societies to provide mortgage holidays for their customers. But we're also pressing the government on rents rent relief, and pressing the government on a national wage for our citizens, many of whom have got temporary contracts, many of whom will see their work disappear as pubs and so many hospitality retailers close down. So what is the government going to do for people who suddenly find that they have no income? So supply teachers, that's our job, that's our key area of concern, but this is a bigger issue throughout our society as well. And it just raises the issue of zero-hours contracts, temporary work, and the lack of a secure employment relationship for so many people. The government's reaping the whirlwind of its own lack of protection for people who are employed throughout society.
Thank you, Kieran. We'll take the next question now, please.
Hi.
Hello.
Hello, my name's Paula.
Hello,
I'm just
Paula.
asking a question on behalf of a colleague and a member, really. He's got children. One is on an EHCP and the other one is in school. He's a teacher, so he's obviously now not going to be in work on after Friday. Well, maybe or maybe not, depends on what the school does. But his wife is a nurse. So I suppose what we're asking is, do his children have to go to school in that case, or if he's off, can he choose to keep them at home?
Well, there's a lot of ifs and buts with that question. So let me take it. Largely, it depends on what the arrangements that the school will make, and when and if they are requiring teachers to be in school to be looking after the vulnerable children and the children on EHCPs. So it may be that there is some time when your colleague can spend time at home, in which case he would be perfectly able to look after his own children. But there will be times when I imagine that he'll be required to, in negotiation with the school leadership, to provide care and support for the children who have a right of a place at school. So really, in all these matters, it's going to be a matter of individual circumstances, particularly what happens with the school and the arrangements that are made. And we'll just have to see how this situation develops. But thanks for asking that question.
Okay.
Thank you, Paula. We'll take the next question now, please.
Hello?
Hello?
Hello, this is Helen. Hello, this is Helen.
Hello, Helen. Hello, Helen. What's your question?
Thanks. Hello, hi. I actually have two questions. I work for a local authority, so I am part of the statutory duty in terms of the assessment. Now, they've announced today that the exams and SATs will not carry on, and in the beginning, in your speech, in your summary, you mentioned that the SATs wouldn't take place in the assessment. However, nothing was mentioned about the early years foundation stage profile or the actual statutory responsibility of moderation for those key stages. Do you know if that's actually going to be removed as well? Because I think schools will also struggle with the moderation if the children haven't been in for long periods of time. And secondly, as a personal question on behalf of my sister, her children are being cared for currently, as in the childcare arrangements drop off the school, by my mum and dad, who are in their 70s. Now, should her school decide to try and stay open, can they force her to come into school to work to look after the vulnerable groups, considering that her children are currently being cared for by a vulnerable group? Or is she in her rights to say, no, I have to look after my children because my mum and dad have been told to self-isolate for 12 weeks?
How old are mum and dad?
There's a lot there.
Sorry?
My mum and dad are both in their 70s. They're both in their 70s, 72, 75.
Yeah, okay. So the first one about the early years profile and the moderation. Early years providers are under the same conditions as schools, in that they close down apart from children who are vulnerable and children who are their parents are in the key workers. So I do not see how the early years profile assessment and moderation will take place, because there will be far fewer children and there won't be staff to do it. Where that actually puts children in private nurseries, I don't know, and I'm not sure that's been explained by the government, and that's another issue where we're going to have to really do some...
I think they would be really hard pushed to, because obviously only reception staff are trained in the profile, so I think that would be really difficult. And I think also right. Just the evidence and, everything in terms of evidence-based and moderation, even across Key Stage 2, the work probably wouldn't be there if the children haven't been in. So how can we validate it?
I think that's right. So I think we can assume... I think we can assume that those assessments will not be taking place. In terms of being cared for by vulnerable parents, the children being cared for by vulnerable parents, I think that is important. I think it's one step away from, if you're over 70, you shouldn't be in school, your children being cared for, because the children are not in school, and the argument there is that they're less vulnerable to infection because they're not in school. So I think that's a matter where I can't give a definitive answer. It will need to be discussed with your employer and discussed with the school and the school leadership. That's the best answer I can give on that one. I don't think I can give a blanket answer on that.
No, that's fine. I just wanted to help to advise her, that's all. Thank you so much, Mary.
Thank you.
Thank you for your questions, Helen. Can we take the next caller, please?
Hello there. This is John.
Hello. Hello, John.
Hi. I'm a head teacher member in a London primary school, and I wonder, obviously, head members are going to be making some critical decisions in the next 48 hours. Is there going to be any guidance from the NEU on how head teacher members should be managing the next steps of this?
Yes, there is going to be guidance. We have got guidance for leadership members on our website, and as we engage in getting further clarification from the government, we shall ensure that guidance is written for leadership members, specifically for them, which allows them to more confidently and better fulfil the very, very significant responsibilities which are being put on school leaders. And John, we will certainly be asking you to contribute to that. What we want to know from our leadership, from our head teacher members, are what are the specific issues that they face, and then we'll want to know, well, if this is the guidance, is this specific enough, is this strong enough? So you will be certainly asked to participate in that.
Okay, lovely. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, John. As I said, we've had over 1,300 people on the call, so apologies if we haven't had time for your questions so far. As I said, the best way to get in touch with us is probably doing a private message on Twitter or Facebook, and we'll get back to you as soon as possible.
Okay.
But we'll take the next caller now, please. Thank you.
Hello. I have a question about coursework.
Hello.
Hi.
What's your
Heather
question?
from Salford. I have a question regarding GCSE. Hi. I have a question regarding GCSE coursework. Obviously, there's been a lot of comments regarding exams, but there's nothing been sort of specifically said pertaining to vocational subjects, where a lot of the grade will be assessed by a coursework which obviously cannot be completed at home. And I just wondered if there was any specific guidance relating to that.
Well, obviously, this is something we're going to have to engage with because the announcement was just tonight. And there's lots of things which are still, still a huge amount which still has to be worked out with Ofqual and with the exam boards. But as a common sense answer, you're absolutely right. Much of the coursework won't be able to be completed. So the assessment will have to be based on largely what the students have already done. What coursework have they already completed? and an assessment made on the basis of that about the qualification and the grade that they're going to get. I think that's the only way it can be done.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, Heather. We'll take the next call, please. And we're going to continue this briefing until 6:40, so about another 10 minutes or so.
Good evening, Margaret. How are you doing?
Hello, hi. What's your name? Hello?
Hi, it's Yasin from Woodhouse.
Hello.
Yasin from Woodhouse College. It's a few questions, really. The first one is, how many students in sixth form do you think would still be attending on a day-to-day basis? Who would be expected to staff a caretaker school? And how soon would our upper six get information on when and whether they will sit exams?
Okay, so first of all, the last question, they will not be sitting exams. The exams for AS, A-level and GCSE will not take place, and the assessment will be done on teacher assessment, teacher grades, and that will be done in a variety of ways. And Nick Gibb said to me this afternoon that you can get valid and reliable results from that process, which really raises for me the whole question about the weight of exams. Yes?
I understand. So would these be, I mean, presumably would these be predicted grades? Would I factor in things like coursework?
I think there'll be a variety of things. It will be based on some work. It will be based on rank ordering of students, the previous spread of grades in the school or college, so that it will be based on those things. But we obviously we have to you know, there's no detail about this yet, but that's what we were told by the schools minister. They reckon the government is working on the assumption that about 20% of the population will be going into schools and colleges, and they say that this is the sort of the safest number, which will slow down the spread of the infection. And in terms of which staff will contribute and caretake the school, that is something that we're going to be entering into further dialogue with the government about, and you will need to be entering into further dialogue with your leader, with your school or college leader. So none of those can be given definite answers yet. The situation will be different in each school or college, but that's the best answers I can give you at the moment for your three questions.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Mary.
Thank you.
Thank you. Can we have the next caller, please?
Oh, hello. My name is Kelly Marshall.
Yeah, hello.
Hello, can you hear me? Oh, hello.
I can, yeah.
I want to ask a question on behalf of my parents, if I may. They are looking after my grandchildren, so yacht children aged 2 to 5. But they're no bit confused about how they classify the elderly age range. They believe it's 65 and above. They're 63. What's your professional opinion on it?
We think that the government's saying that people over 70 should self-isolate, and so we think 70 really is the starting point for elderly.
Okay, cool. I'll just thank you for that. I just wanted to make sure, because my mum obviously is feeling a bit anxious about all this.
Yes, yes. It's over 70 if you get the virus. Apparently the rate of illness and the rate of challenge, the rate of the illness gets much more. The indicators are that if you're over 70 and you get the virus, then you're likely to be significantly likely to be much more sick. So that's why the government, I think, has made that decision. But thanks very much for your question.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. The number of people on the call keeps going up and up. I think it's 1,600 at the last count, so we're going to continue with this brief until 7 o'clock. So do press 0 if you haven't already, if you've got a question, and you'll get put through to one of our operators. We'll take the next caller now, please.
Hello.
Hello. Hi.
Hi. My question's just regarding the announcement about provision being provided over Easter. How would that? What obligation would we have to work over the Easter holidays?
So we don't know that yet, and we think a lot of this will be left to local discretion. The government wants schools and colleges to remain open over Easter so that the vulnerable children and children of key workers, so that our society can get nurses, get food delivered, and so we think this will be a matter of local negotiation with within your workplace about who will be going in over Easter and what work they'll be doing. I think it's important to recognise also, however, that there is still a limit of 195 days unless the government changes the law. So, and they might change the law. They're introducing emergency legislation tomorrow. So there's still a lot that we have to work out over this. And we can't give definitive answers, but we'll have to see how that situation develops.
Okay, thanks for your help.
Thank you.
Yeah, as Mary said, the legislation's coming out tomorrow, so we'll be going over that with a fine-tooth comb and updating the advice and guidance on the website as soon as we've digested it all. And we'll take the next question.
Hello, my name's Yasmin. It's a question regarding the It's regarding the Prime Minister's announcement. There was a lot of Year 11 students, parents and teachers have heard the Prime Minister say today there will be no exams in May and June. You've provided more clarity on this call, but what are the practicalities? Is Friday the last day for Year 11? Are they expected to return in June and July? That is a lot of, I think there needs to be some message to the Prime Minister that there's a duty of care to talk to these Year 11s, in particular in Year 13, about what this means to them and what this means to hard-working teachers. The reason we're teachers is because we really want to do the best for our children. So there needs to be more clarity in tomorrow's briefing if you can get that message to him. Have you got anything to say on that?
Yes, I have.
Is it really the last day? Yes.
So we don't know how long schools will be closed for. So that's the first thing. We don't know if it really is the last day because a lot depends on how the virus develops, where they think the peak of the infection is, and whether we're able to suppress the virus and take measures so that it's safe for students to go back to school, or whether it's not. And we can't tell that now, and we don't know. So we're going to have to wait and see what happens there. In terms of students who would have been sitting GCSEs and A-levels, you're absolutely right. We are going to be writing to Ofqual tomorrow to say, can we meet with them and can we start exploring with them the issues that the cancellation of GCSE and A-level and AS level exams actually brings forward. Now you would think, wouldn't you, that lots of students will be delighted about this, but I think actually you're right. I think that many students will, the exams played such a big part in their lives, they've done so much work preparing for them, teachers have worked so hard to give their students the best chances, that actually there will be a lot of confusion about this and a lot of anxiety. So we absolutely have to get some more answers, and we will be I'll be writing to Ofqual tomorrow in order to get a meeting as soon as possible, and we will be asking members to tell us what are the issues that they feel needs resolving, and in particular members need to know and students need to know on what mechanism will they be given grades for their GCSEs and their A-levels. What will be the process and what will be the practice of giving students grades when they don't have these exams. So we will be doing that as soon as possible.
Thank you. I just think there's clarification for the government. You can't just say a message like that to Year 11s and then expect it to just be okay. There's no exams. There's a lot of upset parents and students and staff.
Absolutely. And I'll just say a little bit in the government's defence, and I don't normally do this, so I hope everyone takes note, because I'm not usually seen as a supporter. But I do think that if they had said, if you turn it on its head and said, we don't know when schools will reopen, we don't know how many students will be out of school because they're very, very, very ill, we don't know what we know that students at home have very different access to study, to rooms to study, to parents or other people who can help them, and we're still going to go ahead with the GCSEs and A-levels, there would have been an absolute outcry. So I think they've done the right thing, but we've got to get a lot more information from them, and we want to be part of those discussions. We don't want to be done to us. We want the profession to be part of the solution to the problem that this coronavirus has created.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for your question. Thank you.
We'll take the next caller, please.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi there. I just wanted to ask, to what extent will children who are still attending school be expected to be taught?
Really good question, and I don't think there's a clear answer. The first general thing I would say is this is not education as we know it at the moment. I think it's highly unlikely that children will be, first of all, they won't be in their normal classrooms. They won't be with their normal classmates. There won't be a full teaching staff. And we think that this is a time when what it means to be educated and what it means to be in school will change. We think that the learning will be much more activity-based. Children and staff will be doing different things and running different sorts of timetables with different sorts of experiences. We think that that will change. We can't prescribe that for every school. The whole point of this is it will be different in different schools and colleges because there will be different children, different staff, different expertise and different ratios. So it will have to be worked out according to need and according to local circumstances. Certainly the National Education Union is doing some work at the moment about the different sorts of education and what education under these conditions, how it can be re-envisioned and what that means for school staff and what it means for children and young people. But it's not business as usual, absolutely not business as usual, and no one should think it is.
Thank you. Sorry, I meant to say my name's Alex, by the way. Missed that bit.
Alex, it's lovely to talk to you. Thank you for phoning.
Thank you. The one other thing I would like to say is my wife is currently 39 weeks pregnant. Should I still be attending school? And also, what would happen in terms of my paternity, which has been granted before coronavirus really got bad in the country? But will I still be able to take that? What would that look like?
So your right to take time off shouldn't be affected, whether that's maternity, paternity leave, or time off for carers. I think if your wife is 39 weeks pregnant, you shouldn't be attending school. You should be, she should be self-isolating, and you should be as isolated as you can be.
Yeah. Okay. Great. Well, thank you very much for answering my questions, and I do appreciate you doing this phone conference. It's been really useful.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Our next caller, please.
Hello, my name's Ellie from London. I'm ringing because... Hello there. I'm wondering about children of key workers particularly. Their shifts obviously are different to the 30 hours perhaps that they're entitled to, or the 15 hours for nursery age provision. Will we be expected to run an extended day for those children? And in terms of ratios, there'll be more teachers than there are normally for the number of children. Let's say there's 20% in education, remaining in education. What would we do with those surplus teachers? Would they do part of an extended day program? Would some be, I don't know, I'm confused about how we're going to be redeployed, I suppose. Yeah, and I don't think I can give you a clear answer about that. I think that there will be more staff than normally, and I think that that gives an opportunity for all sorts of different patterns of working. We've been saying for a long time that we need more flexible working in schools and colleges. This is a time to try it out. So it may be that there are some extended days. It may be that staff go in on certain days. It may be that they go in at certain times. All this needs to be worked out, and it's certainly
something that we will be taking to government, because we want some guidelines about how this will be worked out. Remember, and what we want to emphasise to the government is they are relying on school staff's goodwill. So it's got to work for your school staff as well as for the parents of the key workers. We want to play our part in keeping the country open. It's in all our interests that hospitals, stores, that hospitals have healthcare workers, that food stores have food, that the delivery to vulnerable and elderly people, which is now being prioritised. It's in all our interests as a civilised society that these key workers continue. But it also means that actually, if that's going to happen, the best way for this to happen is for it to work for the school staff, who are also actually key workers, and for whom many people are relying on their goodwill to make this work.
Yeah, thank you very much. That's very helpful.
And that's certainly a key point that we'll be making to the government.
Great. Thanks very much, Mary.
Thank you for your question, Ellie. Can we take the next caller, please?
Hi, Mary. It's Debbie from Swindon District.
Hello.
Thank you. The majority of my questions have been answered. Thank you very much. I've just had one concern that I would like you to raise when you do speak to those in charge. They said that they are suggesting that if there's small numbers in each school, that perhaps there's like a central hub for the children, which can obviously be at locally. For me, that raises major issues for safeguarding. Under normal circumstances, we have to be very, very careful about registering where the children are, if they're not attending, chasing them up. We've got access, in our own schools, we've got access to their contact numbers. Schools run different systems for keeping pupil records. I don't think they've thought it through exactly how it's going to work if they put the group of children together.
And I think that's an absolutely key point, that safeguarding point, and we will certainly, that's it. Well, I've got a colleague here who's busily typing down all the issues that members are raising, and he's Adrian Pandle, and he's our lead negotiator with, he represents the NEU to government and at the Department for Education, and certainly he will be contacting the department tomorrow with all these issues. So thank you for that very much.
Keep up the good work.
Thank you.
We've got just under 15 minutes left and about 40 questions in the queue, so I'm afraid we're not going to be able to get to all of them. But as I did say, if you private message us on Twitter and Facebook, we'll answer them as soon as possible. But for now, we'll take the next caller, please.
Oh, hello, it's Sheena.
Hello.
Hello. I just wanted to, Gavin Williamson has said that teachers are going to be included in key workers and that there will be a list published of people who are key workers. He also said that there will be some flexibility over identifying our vulnerable students, which I think is really, really good, because lots of our youngsters don't necessarily appear on registers, but we know that they need that extra support. So there are some really good things there. I don't think that this plan will work unless we are part of it, teachers and support staff are part of it. And I'm really anxious that we are able in some way to feed into our local authorities. So I was going to ask, the question I'm going to ask is, can the NEU collate the best practice that people have negotiated already with local authorities and that people have put forward? And the other thing I think we really need to press for is that we have to have testing for teachers and support staff in order to be able to keep these schools open and moving. So, are you going to be pushing for that?
Certainly, I think those are two excellent points. I mean, certainly we will want to look to, in our guidance to members, examples of good practice in terms of, teachers and support staff being taken seriously, and real consultation about how this is going to work. We don't think it will work, I agree with you, unless there is that consultation. And certainly the issue around testing and testing of both the children and the staff who are doing this work is absolutely key. And again, that's an issue we'll be raising with government tomorrow.
And just one point, I think that government has come up with this today, at least in part because of the pressure that we have been putting on them, and you know, for that I'm hoping that we'll be able to continue to use our influence so that we can actually, you know, help our young people to get through this period.
Yeah, and indeed, in the conversation with Nick Kidd this afternoon, he said that one of the reasons why they were moving to this school closure was because members had taken our advice and you know, started to self-isolate if they were in vulnerable groups. And we will keep, I mean, obviously this is nobody wants cheap shots at governments at the moment. This is a time of national emergency, and the National Education Union and its members want to play their part as responsible members of society. But we balance that with wanting and our clear moral and ethical responsibility to protect our members and to protect their welfare, and that's the balance that we're trying to get at the moment.
Thank you for joining us, Sheena. Can we take the next caller, please?
Hi, Abby. I'm a teacher in London.
Hello, Abby. What's your question?
Hello. Thanks. I'm just wondering, I'm an art teacher. I've sent all of my students home today with emergency packs of equipment, but after the news that exams are going to be cancelled in May and June, what does it look like before then? Are they going to be carrying on with any work? And this applies for every subject before May and June.
Well, I think that schools, I think if you teach in a secondary subject, I think most teachers will be sending their students home with some work, because that's what teachers do. They care about their students and they're very interested in their subjects and they want them to do well. We're going to be liaising with Ofqual to find out and to really determine what the work, you know, what student work will be used as a basis for giving them grades for their GCSE and their A-levels. So we are going to be working with them. So I can't give you a definitive answer there, but what we do know is that the work they have done during their course now assumes that really, and that teachers' views on that and their assessment of their students' work will be very important. And I think that's absolutely right.
Right. Yeah. Just trying to make it as clear as possible. And when they close on Friday, I mean, a lot of them are very unsure about what part of their work is going to go towards their overall GCSEs. It's just about being clear with that.
Yes, and we need clarity in all those things. I don't think it will be given. I don't think it will be given to. That clarity will take a while to emerge. I think we're in a completely new situation. So, but I do think one of the things we can say to the students is, I'm your teacher. I actually know the qualities of your work and the standards you've achieved better than anyone else. So actually, you know, I'm in a really good place to make a really good assessment of your work, and it will be a fair assessment based on my professional skills and knowledge. And I think we can give our students confidence that we know what we're doing. And I think that's important for you, and I think it's really important for them.
Thank you very much. We'll take the next question now, please.
Hi there, my name's Sophie. I'm a teacher in Devon.
Hello, Sophie.
Hi, I just want to say first of all thank you for all the clarification that you've given this evening. I think it's been so informative and helpful, reassuring for all of us. I just wanted a quick question about the vulnerable children.
Yeah.
Obviously all of our children are vulnerable to an extent, I just wanted to know if pupil premium children are going to be classified as vulnerable.
No, they're not. It's children with education and healthcare plans that are going to be classified as vulnerable. And this is an issue that we have raised with Nick Gibb. I have raised that issue with him this afternoon, that, you know, it's not just children on free school meals who go hungry, and it's not just children with education and healthcare plans or who have an assigned social worker who are vulnerable. So these are further discussions which we have to have with the government. The reason they defined it quite narrowly is because they need to keep the numbers down in schools, because that's the way to contain the spread of the virus. So they are balancing difficult issues here, and we have to understand that and give them some credit for making those decisions, and they are basing it on scientific advice.
Brilliant.
Thank you, Sophie.
All right,
we'll
thank you ever so much. Thank you.
Actually, we're going to finish things off there. We've had an incredible response from you all. There's been 1,900 members on the phone. So there's obviously a lot of appetite for these briefings, so we'll certainly set another one up. So check for your emails from the NEU. As I say, keep checking the NEU website for all of our up-to-date detailed advice and guidance. And we hope we can offer as much reassurance as we can in these worrying times. But rest assured, we've got lots of fantastic colleagues here providing as much information and briefing as we possibly can. So we've got your back.
So can I just thank you all for calling in? And we're sorry, there are 6 questions we haven't been able to answer. That's just part of the huge popularity of this event. As it's obviously so, as Chris says, as it's been so well attended, we will be doing more of these. But thank you for your time this evening, and thank you very much for the work you are doing for our children and for our young people, and for the work that you have done throughout the whole of these very, very difficult weeks. I think we can say of our teachers, of our leaders, and of our support staff that you are the real heroes and heroines in this fight against the coronavirus. And thank you so much.